Hi, and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. If you're coming back, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. Thank you for supporting my channel and being here to just hang out with me. And I hope if you're the first time here that you enjoy what you see and you'll be back. If you hit the like button for me and the subscribe, it doesn't cost you anything. You're not going to be getting annoying follow-up like emails or texts or anything. It just helps my channel and it helps support me. So like and subscribe, please, for me. Okay, now, as we get ready today, oh, excuse the hair, it is wash day, and I always dry it till it's almost done and then let it air dry for the last because it seems to curl better and frizz less. So fingers crossed that it comes out good today. We won't find out for another hour or so. Anyways, what are we going to talk about today? As you might or might not know, I am an author, and I primarily write erotic, steamy, super hot and sexy BDSM romance. And I love it. I love it. I love what I do. I love my stories, and I have 11 books out right now. So if you wanted to check them out, I would appreciate it. Leave a comment of which one is your favorite. I would love to know that. Things like that just feed my soul, you know? But what I was thinking about telling you guys today, because I have not had a new book out in about a year. And my writing has really slowed down recently, and I thought I would talk about why. You see, I like all kinds of books, not just my steamy romance. I used to read like primarily steamy romance, but every once in a while I'd need a palate cleanser, you know, something to break up the monotony and try something different. And I'd read like the Alex Delaware series by Kellerman. They're so good. I started with When the Bough Breaks. Excellent book. And then I'd read other like Lisa Gardner. She was a really good one to follow. But more and more, I started reading more and more of my palate cleansers. And I really, really, really want to write a book that somebody makes into a movie. That's a dream of mine. That's been a dream since I was a little kid. If you want to complete the full dream, I star in a movie that I created myself, that I wrote myself. But even if I can't star in it, I want to see one of my movies up on the big screen. And I know it happened with 50 Shades of Grey. That fed my soul so much. I was like, it's possible, but not likely to happen again, you know? So I have stories in my head that are not just romance. So I decided to start writing those too. And that's what has taken me so long. And I did something that I don't normally do. I started more than one book at once, and it's made it really hard for me to concentrate on any one and finish one because I have too many stories going through my head at the same time. And I'd like to tell you about those today because I'm super excited, because one of them I have finally gotten to the final stages on, and I can start focusing on the next one and then the one after that and get some stinking books out there for you to read. And hopefully you will enjoy the new genre, reading the new genre, as much as I enjoyed writing it, because man, did I have fun with these. All right, the first one that is set to come out is called The Pod. Now, I am phobic about orcas. My parents took me to see the movie Orca when I was only 7 years old in the movie theater. And it scared the bejesus out of me. The part that stuck with me the most is that the stinking whale burst through the house so that it could eat Bo Derek. And I was convinced that it was going to burst through my house and eat me, even though I lived in the middle of the desert in Carson City, Nevada, in a second-story apartment. But every time the toilet flushed, I was convinced that was the sound of the ocean and there was going to be an orca swimming up through the pipes to eat me. I was 7. What do you expect? So, nightmares for the rest of my life, thanks to the movie The Orca. So, one of my most vivid nightmares, I have really vivid nightmares, and one of them was it was like watching a movie. It was so good and terrifying that I woke up and went, I gotta write that. In fact, like I said, it was like watching a movie. It starred Chris Pratt and Emma Watson. So that's who I hope stars in the actual movie if it gets made into one. I don't know. Maybe it'll be so long that they'll be not cool anymore and we'll have to go with more. Just not Timothée Chalamet. I know everybody loves him. I don't get his attraction or his appeal at all. He may be super talented, but no, not for me. Anyways, the pod. Okay, so we start out with an evil SeaWorld type amusement park where they have orcas in their shows and on display. And there is our young heroine who has just graduated from college. She's a marine biologist and she has been hired there and took the job there because they want to clean up their image and not be seen as an evil SeaWorld type park. So they convince her that they want to change their ways and they want to be a conservation park. Like they're trying to change everything and they're not going to be commercial anymore. They're actually going to be working on saving the oceans. And she's been hired on to bring about those changes. Not long after she's there, she discovers that she was only hired for looks, only for PR. They don't actually intend on implementing any of the changes that she's made or that she's trying to make. So we've got tension and stress there. And then while she's working there, she discovers that one of their whales, a whale named Velma, is actually from the wild. She has been kidnapped from the wild and she discovers it. And she's like, this would be a great way to start earning your positive publicity if we set Velma free. So she begins the transition of setting Velma free. And is very pleasantly surprised and proud of herself that the plan is green lighted and okay, and they get to take Velma out in their brand new prototype ship. And it's got this huge tank that sits mostly underwater below sea level. Half of the tank inside the ship is above so that Velma can still get up and breathe. But when you go underneath, there's a viewing area where you can see Velma in there. And it's kind of like the crab boats, you know, when you watch The Deadliest Catch and they open up and there's seawater coming in and out where they keep the crabs. It's the same thing for Velma in her tank. She's got ocean water coming in and out while they transport her back to the Pacific Northwest where she was stolen from. Great, right? Everything's wonderful. And then they free her. But what they don't realize is after Velma's free and they think they are taking a wonderful 2-day or 3-day vacation sponsored by their generous boss for all of their hard work. Their generous and lovely boss orchestrates the kidnapping of another whale. They steal a baby whale and put her in the tank to try and, because they need to beef up their bloodlines and get some new blood in there so all the whales aren't, you know, interbred or whatever it's called. And what they don't realize is that their brand new state-of-the-art prototype materials that they've used to make this ship actually works as an amplifier underneath the water. And as that baby orca cries out for help, all of the whales in the ocean can hear her. And they start going crazy trying to find this baby in distress. And they start attacking all of the ships and people and houseboats and docks and even sea-doos. And they do things like beach themselves. Everything you see them do in the wild to catch a seal, they do in my book to eat people. And it's exciting and fun and edge of your seat. And when I was writing one part, I actually started sobbing because I'm a pantser, not a planner when it comes to writing. I don't plan my book out. I write by the seat of my pants. And there was one part where I thought someone was gonna die, and I was just like sobbing because I thought they were dead. So it's amazing. I love it. And right now it is in the hands of my beta readers, and they are loving it too. I'm so excited. I'm getting such great feedback from it. Everyone who has read it so far thinks it's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear what you guys think about it. I can't wait till it's out. I really, really, really hope that it's good, that it makes an impact, you know? My dream is for this book to close down SeaWorld finally. I know because they're trying to do what my book park is doing, but they're still putting on shows. So what that they haven't let people in to swim with them anymore since their last death. But those whales are basically in bathtubs, and it's cruel. I love zoos, don't get me wrong. I know there's some animal rights activists that believe even zoos are wrong, but as long as they are upkept and the animals have a decent enclosure, I think, you know, they're safe. They are not having to risk their lives for their food. They're being well fed and well cared for. And, you know, like I said, as long as they have like the Woodland Park Zoo here in Seattle, I love it. It's huge, and it's all of the enclosures have so much space for their animals. It's perfect. And that's one thing, you know, but orcas don't, like lions, they stay in their area. When you watch lions in the wild, they don't go out for miles and miles. They don't cross continents. They have their territory and they stay in their territory. Orcas don't. Orcas swim the whole entire ocean and back again constantly. And to put them in a tub is just, it's so cruel to me. It's so cruel. And yes, I am terrified of them. And yes, I am phobic, but that doesn't mean I want them to suffer. That doesn't mean I don't see that they're beautiful and that they're intelligent and that they deserve to be free. You know, like I said, with other animals, you know, you don't see, they don't go from ocean to ocean and continent to continent. They kind of stay in their territory. So I think the ones that are in zoos, as long as it's a good zoo, I think they're great. I think they're doing fabulous for them. But not orcas. Not orcas. So anyway, that's why I hope you'll read the pod and tell all your friends to read the pod, because maybe like Blackfish, when Blackfish came out, it really had an impact on SeaWorld, and they had to make tons of changes. And maybe my book will bring about even more changes. If it's popular enough, if people read it. I hope. Okay, so that's the pod, and it'll be the first to come out. Sorry about that. I dropped my perfume. I wear Liz Claiborne, by the way. Okay. Now, eyeshadow. Okay. What else do I have in store for you? My other book. I moved my camera. Are you still with me? Are we still good? Okay. Another book that I am working on is called The Dark Upstairs. Now, I grew up with a father that moved us constantly. We moved back and forth, mostly between Nevada and California, but we also did some time here in Washington. We did some time in Texas. He moved us a lot, a whole lot. So the constant in my life, the place that I always think of as home, is the farm that my grandparents owned, because we would go back there. That was home base. And on summer vacations, I spent a lot of summer vacations with my grandparents and loved it there. Now, this house was built by my grandfather and his brother when my mom was only 5 years old. And she was born in 41, so that's 46. In 1946, they built this house. And that was before there were things like building permits and building regulations, or if there were, he didn't pay attention to them. And so this house was just not like any other house you'd ever see. And when you would walk in and head towards the kitchen, right before you get to the kitchen, there's a closet door right here with a step in front of it. And when you open that closet door, you realize that first step is the first step on the way upstairs. It's a giant staircase inside the closet, which was really cool. But it was also really dark and really narrow and really scary when you're a little girl who's afraid of the dark. And no matter what, I would try to leave the light on for me. When it got close to dark, I'd go up and turn on the light while it was still bright out, because being the youngest in the family, I was always sent to bed first. And every time, without fail, when it was time for me to go to bed, the light would be off again. Somebody had gone up and turned off the light. And none of the older kids, none of the grown-ups would go turn the light on for me. They kept telling me, quit being a baby, go do it yourself. I was terrified. It was horrifying walking up inside that closet, up those dark, narrow stairs. You get to the crest of them, and then there's a little landing, and you have to turn and walk up 4 more. And then there was one light in the upstairs, and it hung from a string in the middle. Well, not even the middle. It just like about a quarter of the way into the room. And then there was it's a naked bulb that hung down from the wall, and there was one tiny string without even a marble on the end of it, just one tiny string that hung down that you had to pull to turn on the light. Now, Grandpa didn't put a railing. It was like an L that was completely open and exposed. No railing, no lip, no warning. And if I took one step too far, that way I was falling down the stairs. It was horrifying going up there and groping for that light. Oh, I get chills just thinking about it. I was convinced that I was going to fall to my death. But on top of that, Grandma's house was haunted. I don't know if you believe in ghosts or not, but I do. And I do because Grandma's house was haunted. And it wasn't just because I was a little girl scared of the dark either. One of my cousins, Jerry, got hit by a car in the front yard when my grandmother was watching him. And he got thrown into the ditch, and she had to run out, and she stood hip deep in the ditch holding her grandbaby's head up out of the water. He was 14 and holding his head up out of the water, and he died in her arms. It was horrible. It was sad. My poor grandmother, all of her hair fell out after that happened, and she had to be hospitalized. It completely broke her and devastated her, and her eyebrows never grew back after that. Isn't that weird? But anyways, that is who haunted Grandma's house. He was there. You could, when you were alone in the house, you heard him walking around upstairs. Once, when I was sleeping downstairs on the divan, it was a divan before it was a couch, as my grandma says. I heard something, and I opened my eyes and looked over, and the closet door to the stairs was open, and there was the shadow of a young boy standing there staring at me, and it was a complete shadow. There was no like form where, you know, you could see like hints of a person behind it. No, it was complete shadow. And I was like, Steve? Is it my cousin Steve? Is it my cousin Frank? I don't know. But when I like rubbed my eyes and tried to make, you know, look better, he was gone and the door was shut. So it's haunted, and nobody can tell me different. You can't take away my experience because it happened. And I wasn't asleep when that happened either. It wasn't like I was dreaming or imagining it. I was laying there just trying to go to sleep and unable to because the divan was really uncomfortable. Okay, I feel like these are uneven. Let's get a little more over there. Okay, and so in the dark upstairs, there's going to be the haunting, and I don't know what to tell you without giving stuff away because it's going to be awesome. But that book is also going to be like kind of a revenge book because there were men in my family that did unspeakable things. And the dark upstairs, the ghosts in the dark upstairs, takes revenge on those people that did unspeakable things. And all of the ghosts, like when they take their revenge, those incidences that I've written about are taken from traumatic events in my childhood. Like once, one of the men in the family, being out there in the farm, trying to remember what I'm doing, talking at the same time. Being out there in the farm, in the middle of nowhere, had 18 acres of plums in the middle of fruit country in Reedley, California. And people used to just drive out to the middle of nowhere and dump off their cats and dogs and dump off their strays. And every stray cat seemed to find my grandma's house because she would throw food out her back door for the sheep. That's what she did with all of her food scraps. They went out the back door and the sheep would eat them. But so would the stray cats. And then the stray cats would start multiplying. And at one time there was like 30 stray cats out the back door, and you couldn't go out the back door to go outside because you get mauled by feral cats. Well, my grandmother was complaining about them one day, and this man in our family said, "I'll take care of that for you, Grandma." And he sat out there and shot all the cats, giggling while he just... So I wrote that into the book, and then when the ghost comes after him, they're ghost kitties. And there are even more absolutely cool things that happen in this book. Like one of them, one time my grandmother came home with brand new toothbrushes for a couple of the men in the family, and she told me that the reason she was buying them toothbrushes is because they hadn't used their existing ones in so long that there were cobwebs on their toothbrushes. That grossed me out and horrified me so bad that when one of these men bite the dust, it's by ghost spiders and cobwebs. He's brushing his teeth and the foam turns into cobweb and little spiders and big spiders and everything start crawling out of his face. And it's a gnarly, wonderful scene. I absolutely love it. So that's the dark upstairs. That's what's coming there. Lots of fun and gruesome things happening for us in that one. And my other book, I haven't got a name for it yet. I'm toying with a couple, either Kala Rising or Awakening. I don't know. The main character, her name is Kala, Kalah, and she's, well, let me tell you how I came up with this story. I was sitting there thinking, you know, what if Hades and Persephone was a love story? I know a lot of people, since I started writing this, it's not original thought. Like a lot of people have made this their own fan fiction and written it that way too. But I had this idea before I started to look up to see if somebody else had this idea. But anyways, what if it was a love story between Hades and Persephone? And if it's a love story, then there should be a love child. And who would that child be? Because Persephone is of our world and Hades is of the underworld. So that child would be a bridge or a gateway between the two. So here comes Kalabiti is her full name. And that name means, I can't remember what language, I was just looking up cool names. It's in one of the African dialects, I can't remember which one, but Kalabiti means the one whom death fears, right? How cool is that name? The one whom death fears. And what happens is whenever a demon escapes hell, she goes and finds them and sends them back to hell. And she is literally the gates of hell. She looks like this cool, badass woman, you know, young woman. She's just awesome. Dark hair, dark curly hair, beautiful face. But as she gets closer to the demon that she's pulling down into hell, she starts transforming into the literal gates of hell. Her feet turn into these giant clunky boots, and all of a sudden they just like cement, and her face disappears, right? And it becomes like, almost like those old grates in front of a fire, you know, like in a furnace or something, those grates. And inside her, when you look beyond the grates, you see the fires of hell. And her smoke, remember that part in Voldemort where the final scene and he's like sending his cloak out forever and all these loops and it like captures Harry? That's what her smoke does. She can do that with the smoke and the lava. And that's how she grabs hold of the demons, and then she gets them and sucks them, and they go through her and straight back down into hell where they belong. How cool is that? But in the first book, because I hope there'll be more than just one, She doesn't know who she is. See, we have a little bit of a problem because what is her name? I'm totally blanking on her name. Pandora. Pandora, if you know anything about Greek mythology, Pandora was created to be the bane of mankind. Like Hades or Hercules, Zeus detested humanity, and he didn't like us. He didn't want us. Didn't want anything to do with us. And he had Pandora made to like torment us and destroy us. Like he knew she was going to open the box, and yeah, she's just made to torment mankind for all of eternity. So she is in love with Hades. She's convinced that they were made for each other, that they're perfect, because he's tormenting them after life and she's tormenting them during life. Like they should be together. And she's so furious that he fell in love with Persephone and chose Persephone over her that he steals their child. And she hides her in New Orleans and has made it so she has no idea who she is or where she's from. And so the first book is her realizing what's happening to her. She's still been doing the Gates of Hell thing, but she always she's been manipulated by Persephone to where, or by Pandora, to where she thinks like she just drank too much on the nights where she wakes up feeling all beat up because her body has just gone into demon hunting mode. As soon as one gets close, everything just clicks and starts happening. But yeah, it's a great story too. And I can't wait. So those are the 3 books that I have coming up next. I do have to finish my Kimberly Chronicles trilogy, which is one of my erotic ones. And I have 2 other erotic stories outlined that go in my New York series for any of you who are fans of the New York series. So I'm going to be writing both. Not sure if I'm going to be writing both under the name Lainey Reese or not, because they're different. Like if you're an erotica fan and you pick up The Dark Upstairs, you're going to be really disappointed because there's no sex in that one. So I may do different pen names. I haven't decided yet, but that's what we've got going on. And this is what I got going on today. How did it come out? Thanks for hanging out with me.